So we've had 13 years of a Conservative government, and people now are getting quite excited at the prospect of a Labour government, the premiership for Keir Starmer. I myself, I think like many, are feeling a bit disillusioned with politics at the moment, and I think so far there isn't anything about Keir Starmer in particular that's really exciting me. I think as for Labour as a whole, I'm definitely, if they do win, I'm definitely excited at the prospect of a government which cares more about our public institutions, like the NHS and everything. I think they're screaming at the moment for some help and some funding, so I'm excited at that. But I think I'm definitely at the stage now where it seems as if politicians aren't looking out for us as they're supposed to be. And I think that also counts for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party.
Well, on my side, I'm actually excited. For a long time, we've just been going off, in terms of judging the Labour Party, we've just been going off of like what they had previously done when they were in power, 2010 and beyond. But I'm actually excited. For the first time, this will be an opportunity, if they do get in power in 2024, for us to judge them by their competence. And I feel like that's so important in terms of knowing what they bring to the table, how they can effectively help out people, and even for their leadership. So Keir Starmer, I'm excited to see him in action, because I've often said, a lot of people have often said, this guy lacks charisma. Maybe this may actually be the chance for us to see this person may be charismatic. Maybe he may be the leader that we actually need in this time. So I'm actually very excited.
Yeah. So I'm someone who, I'm going to be honest, I don't know that much about Keir Starmer. I don't know if there's any areas in particular for him that you're excited about that maybe, I don't know, you can educate me on, you can share,
I myself, I don't know much. But I think generally, I'm excited to see what he does in relation to young people. So since I've seen him become the leader of the Labour Party, he's always said on platforms he's been on that he's very passionate about young people. He's there to do whatever it takes to make sure that young people are not forgotten within like politics, and young people are actually represented well in politics. So I'm actually quite excited to see how he helps young people, helps our voices to be heard, and helps us in terms of like maybe university fees. I'm very interested to see if Labour will actually scrap university fees. Although on one of their pledges, they actually said that they won't be doing that. Maybe we could see a reduction in university fees. So I'm excited with what he's going to do with young people. Are there any aspects that you are excited with in general?
I mean, what you're saying about young people sounds very exciting. And I do hope that comes to fruition. I think for me, our public services, as I was saying, I think that's a really important thing for me. And I know that's something Labour's known for championing, but I think even with that, I think Labour's voting base has changed slightly. Labour's kind of focus, I think, has shifted slightly. I know Labour used to be known as the champion for, I guess, like the working class. I know that throughout Brexit, a lot of their votes were lost to UKIP, for example, who stole that voter base of the same demographic, that working class, particularly in the northern, more industrial towns and everything. I think it was in 2019, it was like they lost 60 seats or something like that. But I think also we've seen a lot of a focus on, I think, more like social issues in terms of, for example, the LGBTQ community, as well as, those more those types of policies, rather than, I'd say, the public service ones, I think are the ones that make more of the headlines. But I think I'm just really excited for change. That's good. 13 years of a Tory government, and everyone's got complaints, even those who are really ardent Conservative voters. So I think I'm just curious to see if anything will really change. I think we're dying for it.
That's everything. that's what we are all excited for.
Yeah.
Whether effective change will actually happen.
Yeah.
Once the Labour Party are in power.
Yeah.
Change. I guess what type of change do we actually want to see?
Well, I ain't got no money, so some sort of like, jokes aside, we're in a serious cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
People are struggling. We've got some of our most important members of society for a while now. People like nurses, teachers, having to access food banks. I think the idea of families who are going hungry, who are going on without the lights, gas, electric, used to be or what was seen as a very small portion of society, is now a reasonably common problem. And that's at the same time as the image to the world is, the UK is this country full of this developed, advanced, wealthy country, but its people are struggling, especially in London, which is the famous city for these reasons. You know what I'm saying? So I think along the same line of the public services, whether there's a new push for something to alleviate the cost of living crisis, I'd be really curious. But that's a tough job. So I'm glad I'm not a politician myself. But if change of that nature, I think I'd be very excited for. I don't know, is there anything you're particularly excited about, or in terms of change that you're really keen to see?
I guess change in terms of approach. I guess the Labour Party as well as the Tories, they're all trying to address the same problems, at least I hope, in terms of like poverty, young people, and the cost of living crisis. They're all trying to address the same problems, I would hope. So where they differ is in their approach. And I'm quite keen to see how Labour will approach these problems, especially like the cost of living, as you said. They've been quite vocal about the approach the Conservatives are taking and how it's not to their taste. So what I really want to see is a change in their approach, and not just a random change. I want it to be effective change, change that will actually benefit the people, change that will be long lasting. At the end of the day, we don't want short-term solutions to long-term problems. For change to be effective, it should be long-lasting policies and solutions that are introduced in order for me to be excited at least for the Labour Party. So I'm really excited in terms of like effective change. That's the key word, effective change.
I think that's very well said. And I wonder as well how excited people in general are about the prospect of a Keir Starmer premiership next year. I was seeing just before this that 47% of people, based on a recent study, no longer trust the mainstream media, which is not surprising. But 47% now trust it, so 53% don't. And 41% of people trust our government leaders, which is crazy for many reasons. But I'm really thinking about, how excited do you think people are generally about Keir Starmer government if people are now less interested in politics in general?
Wow, I think the facts speak for themselves in terms of, like you said, 41%. They're not. What was the fact again?
So it was 41% of people trust our government leaders.
Oh, so that means like 60, just under 60% do not trust our leaders, which is quite concerning actually.
In a democracy.
In a democracy.
Where it's the will of the people, but 60% of people don't even trust the system itself or the leaders of that system. Right.
To me, that insinuates that there's something wrong somewhere, at least. So in terms of people really not being excited in terms of Keir's premiership, I do actually understand why they think that. But at the same time, as you mentioned, media platforms, I feel like this is a time where people really need to do their research, not go off of personality politics. Because as I previously said, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's not charismatic, he wasn't like Boris Johnson. But at the end of the day, something that makes a good leader, it goes beyond personality. it goes beyond the way they're perceived.
Yeah.
Well, the way they come across. It's important the way they are perceived.
Yeah.
But it's important for us to do our research into what they're actually doing to try and better the lives of like the electorate, and how they're pulling together a team, effective policies to actually bring forth change. So even though I feel like a lot of people aren't excited about his premiership as a whole, what they should be excited about is the approach. As I've constantly said, they need to be excited about that. Like, if you're not excited about that, be excited about that. Even from an analytical point of view, this is really a time for us as the electorate to really sit down, to really even understand what we want from his premiership, what we want, the change we want to see. So, yeah, I do understand. What do you think?
Well, right now, I love the enthusiasm, the hope for the future in the ways you're saying, because I think I've become much more of a cynic about politics, about each party, especially in the UK, over the last few years.
Oh, why?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Well, any event since the pandemic, we've seen, and even before that, but pandemic's the most recent thing, but I think we've just seen, I mean, there was a period where you couldn't turn on the news without seeing a statement from a politician, and the first thing they said was, "Oh, I'm sorry, because we've done X, Y, and Z wrong again, or we've made this."
Be apologies.
These sort of things, and that's just one tiny example. Let alone the actual, we can list out statistics. But I think the prospect of a new government with real change is sometimes, I think, even in my case, falling on deaf ears because of this cynicism. But this is why it's great to hear. Like you're saying, we should be more excited about the approach. There is real chance for change, and I think that is really exciting. That is really exciting, and I wonder what will, as we build up to the next general election, what the mood music will be like, what people are saying, because it's really easy now. We're in the cost of living crisis. We're not necessarily thinking about the general election, and we really only hear, I guess, complaints about our current government and everything. I wonder whether that will change. I wonder whether the conversations will switch from, oh, the Tories are doing X, Y, and Z to, oh, well, what would the Labour government do if they win?
Right. So we need to have more of an optimistic view towards politics. You know, to actually stem excitement within us. You get.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, I think it's, because at a certain point, cynicism does take its toll. I think it's difficult for me, for example, to really get excited by politics to the point where I think, okay, let's just go and let's trust these people to do what they're meant to do, because I do think there's some real holes in the system at the moment, some real problems. But even just in the short term, looking ahead to next year, we should at least have some sort of optimism, because otherwise, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
At least see.
There's excitement in anticipation. And I feel like that's the only hope for some people right now, that anticipation of what will happen next, what's going to happen. And to be fair, to round this off, we can only hope and just see how it will go. Yeah. So, I'm excited. Are you now excited?
Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens.
Okay.